Hey traders, Chris Capri here, Second Skies Trading. Hope you are having a good day today. U.S. election today, big day. I think it's going to create some very interesting trades today. I did a webinar yesterday. Who attended the webinar? Who attended the webinar yesterday with XTB that I did? So hopefully you guys enjoyed the webinar. For those of you that missed it, I will be recapping some of the main points today. But first, we're going to kind of do an overall market analysis, see what's going on with the overall market, and talk about some of the things that are happening today. And for those of you who are not aware, hello to you, Dutch. With the U.S. election happening today, a lot of the results are going to start rolling in, I think, around 5 o'clock Eastern, 5 to 8 o'clock Eastern time. So with that being said, I'm guessing the sound is all good because nobody's saying anything. Sasha saying Bitcoin. Yeah, we'll get into Bitcoin today. That's actually one of my trade ideas. So U.S. election should start rolling in 5 to 8 p.m. Eastern, which in California here, we're about 3 hours back from that. So, around somewhere between 2 and 5 p.m. I'm debating doing a live U.S. election stream tonight. I'm definitely open to it, possibly. I might stay here for that. That's certainly a possibility that I will do that, just because it's going to create a lot of interesting moves. I think the chances of the U.S. election being decided today are slim. And because of that, that's going to create very interesting positioning today. I think there's going to be a lot of traders who are going to be, I don't want to say nervous, but more like hesitant to put on positions of any decent size today. And I think if people do put on positions today, they're going to want to be out, because how this election plays out is going to roll the dice in a very serious way in one direction or the other. And there's 4 or 5 scenarios that could have massive implications on how the markets play out, what trades are the best setups, and how things are going to be set up for not only the rest of the year, but also going into next year. And so I am leaning towards, this being a contested election. That's where I'm leaning, and I'm leaning towards Biden being the winner, but I wouldn't be surprised if Trump pulls it off. So there's definitely some factors, a fair amount of factors against him, but he also has some favorable things going for him. So I think there's a lot going on today. So if you guys, who here would actually even be up for that? So that would be like literally almost 11 hours from now. Who would actually be up to be able to do it? Lewis is saying, fantastic. I killed it with Neo. Nicely done. Colin, hello to you. Good to see you. So I know my European traders will probably have a hard time being up for that one. That's a little late. Miss Actor, morning to you. But who here is like more US or Asia bound that you would actually attend it? Because I think if we were to have a decent enough audience that could make it, I would probably do it. It would be a long day for me. So I'm thinking that if I did do it, I might actually do like a juice fast or something like that, just to kind of power through. Yeah, it's too late for Europeans. I think anybody UK, Europe, it would just be too late to do a US election thing tonight, 11 hours from now. But I could see my US and Asian crew. Andrew, good to see you. Andrew Kubas. I would join in on that live stream. You would? Okay. Yeah, Colin's, nighttime for you, Colin. I imagine that. Julius, you would do it. Okay. Kenneth, you're in Asia. Okay. Sasha, go ahead and post in the courses, all the different courses. Let everybody know, just say, hey, who here is from US and Asia that would be interested in Chris doing a US election stream? So I probably would stream for a fair amount of time. I probably would, do maybe a 2-hour stream, depending upon when the most important results are coming in. So we're going to get East Coast first, obviously, and then it's going to roll over to West Coast. You've been at the community since 4:30 in the morning. Yeah, I don't expect you to be here, Sasha, but can you at least email out to everybody? If you could email out to everybody, that'd be great to see what kind of attendance we get for that. So, all right, so let's go ahead and kind of go over the overall market, what's been happening overnight. We've had kind of this very interesting pattern. Yingchen Chu, sorry, Cho, if I said your name, I'm sorry. Hello from Taiwan. Hello to you. I am in California, so hope you are well over there. Looks like you'd be able to make it, so that would be good. But okay, so we're going to recap markets, just overall markets. Then we're going to look at S&P futures. We're going to look at QQQs, what's happening in pre-market. And then we're going to look at top movers for the day, and so how it's all going to play out. I myself am probably not going to be heavy trading during this morning. There's several reasons for that. One of it is I'm already pretty heavily positioned. I feel like I'm very well positioned for this election. I have precious metals exposure, which I like having right now, especially going into the end of the year and early next year. I would like to get some Bitcoin exposure, but I don't like the current prices. So I would like to add to that. I have some kind of smaller tech stocks that I think are going to be very favorable for the future, but I also have short overall tech positions in the QQQ. I'm short the QQQ via options. What else do I have? I have some VIX options. I have short-term VIX options for December, and then I have medium-term VIX options for February. So the short-term VIX options are bullish, and that has played out very, very well thus far. And then I have bearish for February next year. So I'm expecting the VIX to go up and then come back down after the election, after next year, or after this year ends, basically. So I feel like I'm pretty well positioned for the election based on multiple scenarios and how it plays out. I do have some long stock exposure. So with all that, unless I see the most cherry of cherry trades this morning, I'm probably not going to be day trading this morning. I'll probably just do some option plays that I think could perform well in multiple market scenarios. But I'd like to really see how everything is going to play out with the election. If there is a dominant winner by tonight, then I feel like I could start taking positions. If not, then I would probably wait to see, is this going to be a short contested election? Is it the kind of thing we'll know tomorrow or the next day? Or is it going to be a much longer contested election that's going to take weeks to play itself out? Those are the two scenarios, the three scenarios that, or the two scenarios I'm most kind of, I wouldn't say concerned with, but that I'd be most defensive on, is a contested election that will take a few days and a contested election that will take weeks to months. If it's a dominant victory, either side, then I'm going to start taking heavy positioning pretty much starting tomorrow. So that's kind of how I'm looking at playing it. But yeah, that's what I'm looking at. So let's see here. Yanni's saying up 12 hours by doing my meditation while trading. Okay, nice. Olajuwon, good to see you. Miss Actor, expecting dollar raising and selling euro and pound and NASDAQ. So you're expecting the US dollar to gain, and you think the euro dollar and the pound is going to lose. Yeah, it'd be very interesting. I think there's a couple scenarios that could work out, and I think there's a few scenarios that would not work out. The two scenarios that I think that the US dollar would gain would be the first is that we have a blue wave where not only Democrats take the presidency, but they also take control of the Senate. They're expected to maintain control of the House. So because of that, if you had a full blue wave where they take the House, the Senate, and the presidency, then I think that would be very bullish for the US dollar. I think the other scenario that'd be bullish for US dollar is a full red wave where Trump keeps the presidency and the Republicans keep the Senate. Then I think that would be very favorable for the US dollar. The other scenarios I don't think would be very favorable for the US dollar. I think they'd be bearish US dollar. So that's why I have to kind of defensively play for a contested election. That's why I have gold exposure. I have a lot of precious metals exposure. I have, what do I have? I have XME, I have SLV, and GDX. So SLV is the silver ETF, GDX is a gold miners index, and XME is a metals and mining index. So yeah, that's what I have. Morning to you, Chi-Chan. Hello to Tom Lindbergh. Tom saying, I read that Wall Street favors Biden president and Republicans in Congress. Yeah, I can see that. That would make sense, specifically because Biden would be probably very favorable to Wall Street, and the Republicans being in Congress would make it hard for huge tax increases to happen to the Wall Street and the banks and things like that. So I could see that. I could see them also being favorable to a full Democratic blue wave sweep, because even though their taxes would likely go up, that's what Biden's saying. He's like, hey, I'm going to raise their taxes. Anybody 400,000 and above, I'm going to raise their taxes, which is kind of a bummer. Yeah, it's kind of a bummer that, but you know, he's saying, hey, 400,000 and above. I think it's great because it'll protect the middle class. But for those of us making over 400K in the US, that would be problematic, depending upon how they raise it. Plus, also states are looking to raise taxes because they've been suffering from coronavirus. So that's creating a situation where, you know, depending upon your state, your taxes could go up on 2 levels, federal and state. But if there's a full blue sweep, even though taxes would go up, there would be so much new investment. That is what I'm seeing with a Biden presidency and a Democratic Senate, that it would the tax increase would be offset by the whole new investment activity that would be going on at that time. So I think there's a couple ways that Wall Street can win. I think there's a couple ways that Wall Street can lose. Morning to you, Stefano. Good to see you. So with that being said, let's kind of go over overall market. We've seen this pattern the last few days. It happened yesterday that Asia was up decently. I mean, pretty strong. You're talking 1.2, 1.3, 1.9, 1.4%. That's pretty strong numbers. Like, it's not like a 0.2, 0.5%. That's a solid gain for, you know, the Asian markets. Then Europe, despite the increase in COVID infections and lockdowns and everything like that, Europe was pretty strong across the board. This is exactly how it went yesterday. And S&P futures were clocking in at 37 to 40 points in the ES before the market opened. But then as soon as the market opened, we saw, you know, what happened. Everything was looking great overnight. Market sold off, pared back some of the gains, got stuck at VWAP. Same thing in QQQ. Market was up overnight. QQQ, though, sold off more heavily because there's more weakness in tech right now, I think, which is interesting because tech was the leaders and now they're kind of struggling a bit. So with that being said, you know, now we're seeing again a gain in the overnight session. And if we start to see losses pretty much from the open, you know, or shortly after the open, I mean, it was what, maybe less than an hour into the open, and Qs were selling off. So, you know, if we start to see a similar pattern, then, you know, that would be a very interesting scenario. I don't expect flows to be huge today. I do not expect flows to be huge today. I expect traders to be very tentative, defensive, tenuous, you know, just based on how things are playing out. I expect traders to be positioning to themselves better or more so based upon how things are going state by state. You know, who wins Florida, who wins Pennsylvania, who wins, you know, the blue wall or the former blue wall, which was Michigan, Wisconsin, Iowa, all that, Ohio, you know, who wins those? So I think things as they come in state by state are going to start to determine where traders are going to want to position. So that's going to be the interesting thing. At that point, the markets will be closed, so you won't be able to trade futures, but or you could trade just FX directly. But I think positioning is going to be tentative today on that. So Antonio Cervantes, I'm ready to party. Yeah, it'll be interesting. Just to go on top of the morning to you as well. Okay, so with that being said, we've gone over ES. ES is in kind of this very interesting, let me get this box out of the way. Looking at the weekly, ES is in a corrective structure, and it's at a corrective structure that's not, there we go. It's not paying attention or respecting this prior all-time highs. So in some sense, this all-time high is kind of mute at this point. The structure that is in play that you have to look at is we did have a corrective structure here. That is the base of this corrective structure. And then we have some highs up here. You have to play this kind of 3,600 to 3,192. Let's move to SPY. I like doing an SPY better. So this is your kind of, this is your floor, and this is your ceiling for right now. And we've had 3 weeks of bearish price action on it with increasing selling. I think traders are kind of waiting and depositioning a little bit to kind of see. I think if 320 breaks, I think we got a lot bigger losses. I think we got 300, and then we're talking, you know, the 286 to 278 zone here, which would be tested. So I think losing 320 would be bearish. I do think that if we have, once we kind of know who the winner is and how it's all playing out, I think that could create some dip buying opportunities depending upon how it plays out. But, you know, as long as there is a contested election of some sorts, I think you're going to see, and it's very close. You know, if it's one of those contested elections and it's close, Like it's not clear who's going to be the winner, and it could go either way, and there's going to be court challenges and things like that. I think that is a risk-off event. I think that is very bearish for stocks. And so if it's not close, I think that's bullish for stocks, because then they can position themselves based on, hey, we know what's going to happen. Or we know how this is going to play out in the most likely scenario. So that's kind of what I'm looking on that, but be cautious on this one here. Watch 319, 320. If that loses, then there's a lot greater losses in store. Qs, I like to kind of look at that. It's kind of in a similar structure, but what I want to note is that, looking at the 1 hour, so you can see that it's been stair-stepping below VWAP for quite a bit. We sold here, and that played out really well. We sold again, and we sold again, and we sold again. So it's been kind of stair-stepping below VWAP, and it hasn't really been using VWAP as support. It did it one day. It used it as support, but then it lost it. And it just keeps getting rejected at VWAP. We do have a very interesting kind of short-term range that we have going on in Qs right now. And so I think if it can break this, I mean, it is using it as support. It's did that before here, but it never really broke above the prior resistance. So I'm kind of watching for that scenario that maybe it used as support, it hits here again, and it fails. If it fails again, then that's just going to be more bearish. That would extend, the corrective structure out, and that would lean towards more downside. But if it's able to hold to this upper end, then it might be kind of the sell-off in Qs might be overdone, and traders might be positioning for a, kind of more certain outcome in the election. So I think that's what you're seeing in a lot of this. I think part of this is it was overbought and traders were pairing ahead of the election, basically. But tech has been underperforming as a whole. So watch this structure, and see how it plays out. If it can clear and hold above 270, 350 by the end of the day, then I think that would be short-term bullish. That means there'd be some transition in place, that it was able to build some upside base and hold on to some of those gains. Tom's saying that markets like clarity. Yes. I mean, think about yourself. We are the market. So you and I, we are all part of the market. And if you think about it, we like clarity as much as possible. I like, certain dominant trends. When the trends are dominant, I'm going to trade very, heavily to one side or the other. If it's unclear, I'm going to pull back positioning on it. So we're the same. B3N, what's up to you? B3N was our latest top trade review winner. So is there like an emoji on this one here? Let's see here. I have to go to the, and for B3N, who gets the top trade review, congrats. So very nice trade on that one there. That was you last week, right? I think it was. Okay, so keep an eye on QQQ. Looking at the larger picture on that, it's kind of a similar structure. I'll do 4 hour in this one. So here's your main zone between 262 and 260 flat. If it loses 260, then I think you're headed to 252, which could be a very interesting trading opportunity. It is looking a little heavy. You got higher high, lower high. And so if it makes this or a new low, then it's looking a little heavy. But yeah, there could be some good opportunities to short. I mean, there's definitely been some short-term opportunities to short it. We've been taking advantage of that through options. So watch this zone here, this 263 to 260 zone. If it loses that, there's another probably 7 to 10 points to the downside. Okay, looking at NEO. NEO we've been bullish quite a lot on NEO, and we've been trading it. Yesterday had a very interesting session. So very strong pre-market, positive news catalyst that their vehicle sales for October were up 100%. And that was very bullish. And so it had a really good pre-market, very nice structure here. Sadly, it was too early in the morning for me because that's like one of my textbook structures. Ramped pretty good and faded a little bit right to the top of this corrective structure, like literally dink, gave it a kiss, and then just launched. And sadly, I missed this. It was just so fast. It was there like a second and then it was gone. And I thought about, as it was closing here, about buying at 33.25, but I felt like, no, I want to wait for a pullback. The pullback never came. It just launched. So I got long. I'm trying to think on the breakout. I am long. I already have NEO positions. I already have NEO longs in this. So it's more of an add to my position. It faded a little bit but then it started to recover. It recovered about half of the overall session. So this is about a half. And so it was up pre-market again, but now it's fading. So I'm kind of waiting to see how this plays itself out. I already have neo longs in it. We've had longs since 28, I think. 28, 30, I don't know. It's hard for me. I have to look back and see where you got our longs. But I think short term, you got to watch this pre-market lows here around 32.75. So put a little bit of an alert here. I won't add any more neo at this point until I see how the elections play themselves out. But yeah, I like neo longs, medium and long term. So 32.75. If this wasn't an election day, 32.75 would probably be an intraday buy point for me, assuming it didn't get there super impulsively. So that's one on the list here. Let's see what's going on in Benzinga. And do we have any major winners? Yeah, we got a couple. 1.4 million, 14%. Positive news by Q3 results, but it's fading. So we'll take a look at JAKK and which one is that? JAKK Pacific. Okay. And then let's take a look at APVO. No news. Let's take a look here. No, nothing since August 14th. So no news catalyst on APVO. I'm leaning towards a fade. If it's got no news catalyst, there's either something insiders know and they're buying, or there's, it's some sort of pump and dump or something like that. 2.3 million shares, very strong promo when the average is 45K. Yeah, it seems a little weird. It got all of its gains, in 10 minutes. And so why is this up? Let's take a look at that one here. Actually, I want to keep SLV and I will, Jason saying, "Hey Chris, I've been paper trading the Dow for a while now and I'm doing well, but I don't know how to position size my trades properly. Can you get some help?" Yeah, risk it based on, try and risk 1%. Just keep it very low for right now. 1% for right now. In terms of position sizing, that's going to depend upon your broker, whether you're trading CFDs, the base position size that they use. Are you paper trading the Dow via stocks or CFD shares? Because that's going to make a difference. Robert, London here. How are you guys doing? We're doing well. California here. How are things going in the lockdown or just with COVID in London, Robert? I'm curious. I've been hearing Europe and many areas have been getting hammered. So I'm just curious. How are things going in the UK with the COVID situation? I'm only getting anecdotal reports, so it's hard to know exactly what's going on. So Jason, yeah, that's going to depend on whether you're trading CFD or the actual stock. When I trade, I don't trade the Dow directly. I like the ETF. So I trade the DIA, which is, there you go. I trade the DIA directly. You're trading CFD shares. Okay, so yeah, it's hard for me to say, how to position it, but because I don't know how your broker's basing it or whatever, everything like that. But I would just keep it at 1% risk for right now, just to be safe. So when in doubt, put it at 1% risk to keep it safe. If you really want to be conservative, put it at 0.5% risk. So that would be my recommendation on that. But yeah, just try and keep it low until you have a baseline and then can calculate your risk of ruin. So that's my recommendation on that. Justin, we'll get into that just a second here. Tom Lindbergh is saying, in Germany, we have a lockdown since Monday. So is that like full lockdown? Like how, because we have lockdowns here and I know there's different types of lockdowns. I know Spain has pretty intense. Is that like you can only go a certain distance from your house type situation? Explain how that's working. Jason saying, yeah, I usually risk 1.1 to 1.5% of my trades. Okay. Yeah, I think that's fine for now. Okay, so let's take a look at APVO and the JAKKs or JAKK or whatever that is. Let's look at weekly. And first, let's mark the pre-market highs. So that's pre-market highs. And then let's see how it is in relationship to the weekly. it's coming off pretty much a low. What the hell are recreational products? I have no idea what they do. This is the pre-market highs, which is kind of towards a decent base here. But if it can clear the pre-market highs, then I think there's potential for a move up to 890. The thing is, if you look at this stock, I mean, it's just been down for 2 years. And if you look at almost every major rally faded. And that was, lasting a few weeks, maybe a couple months. But then look at it even more recently. Like, look at, this is a weekly candle. So every weekly candle pretty much gets faded inter-week. This one kind of, and it just sold off aggressively. Rip and fade, rip and fade, rip and fade, rip and fade. So, with that being said, I'd be hesitant to get long on this one here. I'd want really, really cherry setups on this one, but I wouldn't expect to hold them long because the pattern is showing that it just likes to fade and it's not going to hold it. Like if it rips on a Monday or Tuesday, by the Friday, it's going to lose. It's not going to close at the highs. It's just not showing that. So, yeah, I wouldn't be thinking long-term on this one here. I'd be thinking very short-term and then looking to fade. APVO, let me close this out. APVO. Now look at that. See, by the way, here's the Neo. Went right to the lows and has already ripped 60 cents off the lows. APVO is fading. So let's make same thing here. Pre-market highs. And this is on no news catalyst. So I'm always a little skeptical when we get a big rip like that on no news catalyst. Okay, so pre-market highs here are 919, which is kind of an interesting RL. So let's just nudge it a little bit. Resistance here, support here. You could extend this zone into 1016, maybe 1024. Then you have this weekly spike high at 1167. So I would probably want, this is a good weekly candle on very strong volume. Earnings are coming out on the 5th. That's interesting. So maybe some traders are positioning pre-earnings or something like that. That's interesting. I would probably lean towards, yeah, if you clear 9.3, you're going to run into resistance shortly above. I mean, it might be decent for a scalper, like, someone who's getting in and out in 1 to 5 minutes. That's not my style, but I don't have anything against it. I think it's totally fine. I think maybe because I'm too old, I don't know what it is, but I think I could probably scalp a little bit here, but I don't think I could be the scalper that does like 100 trades a day. I think I could probably, manage something like 10 to 20 trades, 10 to 20 scalps a day, but not 100 like most of my scalper friends. So yeah, I don't know if it's because I'm old or what, but it's also not necessarily natural to my style. So I'd like to see this clear the 1024. I think if it clears the 1024, then you got a lot more open room. Then you would shoot for something like the top of this wick here, which is around 1160, 1170. And if it clears that, then you got, up to 13. So that's kind of what I'm leaning towards. But I do think it's interesting that traders are positioning ahead of earnings, 2 days ahead of earnings. So it has faded a lot of this. It's already lost VWAP. It's already lost the 9. It might lose the 20. If it loses the 20, then it's probably going to head right back to, there's a decent base. There's a decent base at 685, but I could see this easily fading back to 662. So if it kind of saunters or meanders or struggles getting up there again, this might be a potential fade play. So watch out for that one there on APVO. And the no news catalyst is interesting, and it was only a 10-minute rip. So caution on that one. It's not the kind that really makes me feel more confident that it's going to be a long-term play. Anything else coming out here on the volume? Yeah, plug shares are trading higher after David Shaw disclosed a 5% passive stake in the company. That's interesting. That is interesting. It's a good structure. Let's take a look. Is there any charts I want to? I like XME. So I like plug long term. It's a pretty good structure, actually. Yeah, it's a good short-term structure. Let's mark pre-market highs. Let's see what the volume's at. Volume's okay. It's almost at 1 million. Average is 27 million. So it's not like gangbusters pre-market, but it's decent. And I like the structure. Yeah, I like the structure a lot. And yeah, it's a nice, you got the breakout structure here. You got the pullback to the breakout highs right here. It's ripping. Yeah, it's not bad. That's a pretty good structure. If it breaks 16, like the highs, you know, around 16.75, then I think there's scope for a move. Let's take a look at this one here. Get you out of the way. Yeah, if it can break 16.75, maybe 16.9, get rid of 17. You got moved to 17, maybe 5, and then 18.22. Why did I have 18.22 measured? That's interesting. I'm curious about that. But then you got, you know, this kind of upper area, 18.91. So I do like this overall structure. I do like this overall structure. This is a good structure for me. This is a pretty good structure. Yeah, I like this because you got your impulsive. So you got your impulsive run here. Double top, profit taking, a little bit unwinding, dip buyers coming in. But this is mostly corrective. And if you notice that the selling on this transitions from kind of like a downward angle. You see how the transition there? And a lot more dip buying. So instead of making significantly lower lows, it's much, you could see the transition. So I like that. How are we doing on time? 6:42. Okay, we're well into the market open here. So yeah, so you can see the transition on plug. I think that's not bad. I think that's probably one of the best ones of the morning thus far. So I'm liking that one. I didn't change the volume. So how are we doing on, where's plug? Plug 7.6 million. Okay. Yeah, it's looking a little bit better. That's one of the better ones. Okay. Lincoln checking in from Jamaica. Hello to you, Lincoln. I hope you're well. Keep up with your studies. Tom Lindbergh is saying in Germany, it's soft lockdown, only restaurants, bars, only meeting 10 people max. Gotcha. Yeah. I suspect that's going to be coming to more of Europe and potentially the US soon. So with that being said, you know, we've done pretty good so far. We've had about 40 minutes in. So I'm going to switch to the live trade room with members right now in the stock trading course. But with that being said, I hope you have a good trading day. If you do want to attend the if you think that or you'd like me to do a US election webinar this afternoon, evening, you're in the US or you're in Asia, let me know in the comments below. Also, if you enjoyed this session, hit the like button there. We appreciate it. Make sure and smash it there. We went a little bit longer today, so we appreciate the love, and also lets YouTube know that you enjoyed this content and you'd like us to do more live webinars in the future. So I don't get paid for this or anything like that. I get paid to trade. And so, you know, if you appreciate that, make sure you hit the like button. We appreciate it. So with that being said, I'm going to switch over to the live trade room in the members area. Good luck trading this week. I will see you guys. We'll announce it on the YouTube community channel, so stay tuned for that. Make sure you have the bell notification set up for notifications, so that if we do decide to go live or anything like that, you'll be the first to know about that. So let me know in the comments if you want to see a US election session later today. So with that being said, good luck trading, be smart, be safe, and I will see you next time. Take care, everyone.